This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with keyboardist and vocalist Lawrence Gowan of Styx. If I knew absolutely nothing about Styx, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Epic, pompous, unforgettable.
I like the word pompous in the description of that, but it's more like pomp and circumstance pompous.
Correct. Pompous is a word that I know can often have negative connotations, but I think the classic rock idiom and that era put a new twist on it, because the bigger the rock show, the more I like it. And the more, quite honestly, it can't be bombastic enough for me. I don't think we really approach the bombastic high ground, but as I say, I've seen shows in the past that were well over the top, and I still enjoyed them, maybe even more so because of that.
Speaking of shows, you guys are currently on the road on the Renegades and Jukebox Heroes tour with Foreigner and John Waite. How have things been going so far?
Really, so beyond expectations, George. We knew this tour was going to do well, because when they announced it, the tickets started to sell extremely rapidly. But to see capacity audiences every single night on this run, and just how enthusiastic the audiences are, they're throwing themselves into it with full abandon. I look out and I see half the audience any given night are under 40 years of age. Most of that group would be under 30, and they know all the words. They sing along, and they absolutely kind of underscore the people that have been there right from the beginning, that they validate their choice of music.
And you have a pretty good, let's call it, set from beginning to end with John Waite and Foreigner and Styx. You're certainly going through the years from like the 70s through the 80s through the 90s and what you guys have today.
It's 4 hours of nonstop classic rock. John Waite is our special guest opener. He lays the groundwork every single night. His singing is top form. Band is tremendous. And then you get Foreigner and Styx, and we flip the order every other night, right? So I think we close tonight, and that's usually how it goes. I love the middle spot, quite frankly, because it's great to see it go from light into darkness with the audiences, and you get to really see their expressions when you first come out. You can see right to the top of the hill that they're the teeming masses of humanity, and there's just such a great vibe in these audiences from the first song to the last. And like I say, their resilience and their stamina, because they're out of their seats for nearly 4 hours. I don't think the seats need cleaning after these shows, because they're so unused. People are just that enthusiastic about the shows.
Now, this particular tour for Styx, set-wise, is this a greatest hit set, or are you still putting in stuff from Crash the Crown from 2021?
Yeah, from 2021. The title track for Crash of the Crown has merited being played in a show like this, because the album went to #1 on the Billboard Rock Album chart, which is a pretty astounding feat for a band that's been around for over half a century. And but the rest of the night is every song that people know. And I mean, right, every single act. It has to be like, sorry, I can't shut these things off. It has to be like a greatest hits type of night, because we know that, Foreigner for example, they're playing to a lot of Styx fans that have never seen Foreigner, and the same's true for us. There are Foreigner fans who've never seen Styx, and John Waite fans who've never seen either of the other two acts. So you really want to hit them with everything that they could possibly not have missed. I mean, people that think they might not know Styx can probably leave the show going, I knew every song. That's just basically how you want to present a show of this nature.
You have a new band member on the road with you for this tour. Kind of You know him very well. It's your brother Terry Gowan on taking over bass duties for Ricky Phillips, and I would imagine you had a hand in bringing him on board.
I had the least hand, believe it or not. Funny enough, uh, he uh, he merited this because in my solo shows that I still do in Canada, because I have a lot of successful records there and a great loyal following of the faithful, who I just played for back. We took the first week of July off, and I went and played Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. It was great to see them again. But Todd Sucherman, the drummer for Styx, as everyone knows, he joined me on those solo shows from 2010 to 2020. So he and Terry, my brother, because Terry plays my solo band, they had been a rhythm section for over 10 years and played well over 100 shows together. So they were very familiar with each other, and that's why his name surfaced so quickly. And the other guys in the band had all kind of vetted him and knew that he's played on records, on my records, alongside Alex Lifeson of Rush and John Anderson of Yes and Tony Levin and Jerry Marotta. And, it's so he had his history was already well established. I mean, he was musical director for a couple of major events that Leonard Cohen did in Toronto. I'm just scratching the surface of the things that he's done. So there was less nepotism involved than I've ever been involved in. And I've been involved in a lot.
So was it probably was for you and Todd, but was it a smooth transition with Terry coming in to play these live shows, or were there a little bit of growing pains?
It honestly couldn't have been smoother. And in fact, it's astounded us that just how well he knew the material. We had booked, okay, here's how this went. We booked a theater in New Jersey. We booked a theater for the day and set up the entire set. Okay. Full crew, full lighting, full PA, everything. This was his first time to come and play with us in a rehearsal before our first date. That was basically the next night. And so we booked the theater. Everything was set up by 11 a.m. All right. We had the theater till 11 p.m., knowing that this is going to be, to work in a new member to this is going to take a full day. And we came in at 11. We immediately did what Styx always do, and that's everybody gathers around the table and starts eating. So we all had breakfast, loaded ourselves up with coffee. The crew were all like, now they're all relaxed because everything's ready. We hit the downbeat at 12:30. Okay, just after noon. We hit downbeat at 12:30. And we played the full 2-hour set of Styx music. By 2:30, we were done, didn't repeat one song. Like, I don't tell him I said this, he's my brother, but he knew everything cold. He just knew it right down pat. And by about 4 songs in, even the crew were all like, what? This is like not going the way we expected this day. And we were loaded out of the place by 3:30. So that was, let me say 5, 6, 7, 8 hours ahead of schedule. And the next night, and from there on, the shows went seamlessly well. He's integrated himself into it so quickly. Chuck actually had a great comment right after we played like the second song, because Chuck's standing side stage kind of, analyzing how it's going. He comes up to me because I'm looking away. I don't want to be part of this, decision or assessment in any way. So I'm just going to say, I'll do my part. You guys decide if you've made the right decision. But Chuck comes up to me and I say, yeah, he goes, we always had this band started with brothers. And it's going to be great to have brothers back in it. And I thought, well, that's a great clap on the shoulder, and it's been that way.
It's great.
Yeah.
A little, either band, Foreigner or Styx, have a, let's say, current album out, but you guys are offering a little something nice for your fans at the shows and outside the shows. You have a tour companion album called Renegades and Jukebox Heroes.
Yes.
Collection of hits from both bands, plus John Waite's in there as well. Have you had a chance to listen to the album yet?
I have. Well, I listened to it when we were making it, when we were putting it together. I haven't actually got a vinyl copy and put it on the turntable because they have sold ridiculously well, and I haven't got one yet. I think they're already I think they've a second reprinting at this point because people love that kind of a memento from the shows. We actually started this back with REO Speedwagon maybe about 15 years ago. We did one, and it went very, very well. This has just like he can't get them off the truck and onto on the stands fast enough. People seem to, and it's a very fitting piece of memorabilia, George. When you think about it, I mean, these bands are known for their album. That art form is what the bands became known for, and so to me, it's you know. I'm not discouraging anyone from getting a T-shirt, but I would say if you want something that you can relive over and over, well, you can relive a T-shirt, that's for sure. I've seen enough of them in the audience, but the vinyl experience is still the center core of what these bands were built on. Just like your album on the wall there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got to get my copy of the live album when I see you August 2nd here in Massachusetts.
Well, George, you've already got your T-shirt, so you might as well get the album now. Yeah,
that's right.
Excellent choice of wardrobe, by the way.
You as well. I like that peach or salmon color jacket you're wearing.
You're one of the few people that got that right. That's what it is. It's I call it peach. My wife says no, it's salmon, but it is not pink. Though I've nothing against pink suits, but people go, "Hey, no, hey, that pink looks good." Like salmon.
So
I'm not a waiter. Don't order your dinner from me.
Yeah. So anybody that's seen you live with Styx knows that you have this unique piano on stage that spins around and you spin around with it. What are the origins of this spinning piano?
I love when I'm asked that because it predates my joining Styx by 10 years. Well, 9 years, I guess. I joined Styx in 1999. In 1990, on my fourth studio album, was called Lost Brotherhood, and the guitarist on that album is Alex Lifeson from Rush. And Alex was kind enough to join me in the video for the title track of that album, Lost Brotherhood. And when I'd written up the storyboard, which was more or less to mirror or somewhat reflect the idea of Orwell's Animal House, the book, I had this part in it where Alex steps out of the barn and does one of his trademark smoking solos. And I just thought, when I looked at it, I thought, this is a really good storyboard, and I'm the most boring part of it. I'm stuck behind the piano for this video, and I can't really play with it more than that. I wish the piano could move. And I remember years ago seeing that Keith Emerson had a piano that turned head over heels like this. He used in a show. I don't know if he used it in more than one show, but it was that looked extremely nauseating, but he was able to pull it off. But I thought, what if the piano spun, just basically had an infinite or close to infinite spin in both directions, so I could engage the camera and turn with it, or the camera can stay stationary and I'd turn and look over here, and etc. So it was a video prop. But on the day of shooting, the first day, I was getting used to how the thing moves, etc. By the second day, I was really fairly adept with it. And guys in the band, and Alex Lifeson, and my brother Terry, and a good number of the crew and the other people that were casted, all kind of said, "So is this going to be your new thing when you play live?" And I hadn't considered it until that day, and thought, maybe we'll just bring it on stage as an extra, prop and see how it goes. Well, from that day on, it became a fixture on for every show, and it's we've been through quite a lot together, I can tell you.
I would imagine there's been a couple mishaps with the functioning of the spinning.
The bruise on my tailbone that I acquired after the third show way back in 1990 is just beginning to fade now, quite honestly, because I forgot to turn there's a brake on it so that when I stand on top and used to do the leap over top type of thing, I actually, allowed it to spin just enough to catch my tailbone on the way down. That was a bad one. Then there's been a couple of whacks in the head, of course, too, when I forgot that the thing's spinning and I leaned down to grab a drink of water. Other than that, it's been a wonderful relationship.
So Foreigner is calling this particular tour that they're on a farewell tour of sorts. Has Styx considered doing the same at some juncture?
George, until the gods of rock lower the curtain on us, we are going to play until the last man is standing or sitting even. We have no, we enjoy this far too much. Every year we lament how many places we didn't get to that wanted, there's an insatiable demand for the band to play worldwide. And it's more, we're sorry for the places that we miss year after year. And try to make up for that. So no, that is not a part of our tour bus discussions at this point. But we know that inevitably any night could be our last show. Let's just look at it that way. So we don't need to kind of predict it.
You think Styx could continue on with no original members, sort of like Foreigner does?
I don't. That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. I think one of the things that makes Foreigner so strong, in spite of that, is that Mick Jones is the one who put that band together, member by member. This is my view of it. And because of that, he filled each slot with someone that he thought was worthy to carry that name forward. I have mentioned this a few times in the past, but back in around the early 90s, some point, I remember reading a UK publication, might have been Melody Maker. We'll call it that for now. Might have been Kerrang. But anyway, they had an interview with Rick Wakeman, and I always want to see anything Rick Wakeman has to say because I love him as a musician and hilarious human being. And he made a comment about. They asked him about Yes, and does he ever feel that when he's in and out of Yes, did he ever feel that was an illegitimate Yes, that if he's not playing with them, and when he goes back and it's the Wakeman, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, John Anderson, and Alan White lineup, that's the true Yes, of course. To me, if I was to go by that, I'd put Bill Bruford in there as well, you see. So it gets difficult, but his answer back then I thought was just, I did not agree with, and now I fully agree with. And he said, why would that bother me? He said, why would it bother me if other players are in Yes? Yes is yes, just like the London Symphony 200 years ago played Beethoven, and there's a London Symphony today that play, guess what, Beethoven, and no one questions the legitimacy of it. So I've chosen to take that viewpoint. Over the years, I've completely gone the other way and gone, if this music was the great musical statement of the last half of the 20th century, it deserves to be carried forward. It's proven itself over the course of time, with the test of time, and therefore, human life being what it is, and confined to what it is, the name should rightfully be carried forward. I believe that anyway now. But it depends on the spirit of the band. This is the next ingredient in that, because it's like when Peter Gabriel left Genesis. I use this as the ultimate example. How could Genesis survive without Peter Gabriel? Well, I'm so glad that he left. I cried when he did, and I was so glad once I got his first solo album and realized, oh my God, I've got two of my favorite bands now because of this. And the spirit of Genesis went right ahead with when the drummer stepped forward and began to become the singer. And I remember back then, way before there was an internet, how many people's voices were raised up of like, this is ridiculous, this could never work, there's no way this can possibly, and quite honestly, I embarrassingly back then kind of thought the same thing, because I thought, can a drummer really sing well enough to like have people not think about the fact that Peter, well, he carried the spirit of the band forward, and you never forgot that Peter Gabriel was a gigantic part of it. It was always carried forward, and they were the culmination of, as we are, as Foreigner are, of the people that were ever in that band, because they somehow were able to pass that torch forward. So that's my stance. I understand entirely when people completely disagree with it, because I know that it's entirely subjective, and that's how I feel about it. That was one hell of a long-winded answer. I need a little nap right now, George, and I'll be right back in a second.
Well, I guess best case scenario, Styx can be an avatar like ABBA or Kiss.
I'd love to be an avatar. In fact, I might be an avatar right now that you're speaking to. He's much better looking and so much more clever.
Well, you're the most animated avatar I've ever interviewed.
I'm all about the animation.
Styx is heading out next year on the Rock Legends cruise in
Yeah.
February. Have you guys ever played one of these cruises?
We avoided these things for at least a decade. And then once we saw so many other acts that we know, the other bands that we're friendly with, say to us, "We did it and we had a great time." Was it last year? Maybe it was the year before. Maybe it was 2022. Yeah, that's right. We finally decided, okay, let's do one where we actually left the dock and went out to sea for 3 days. It was us and Deep Purple, and anyway, but it was so much fun, and the audience was just so. They were so into it, and you just had this great experience, and we were only on the boat maybe 4 days, I think, in total. That we said we all kind of looked at each other and went, well, that exceeded my expectations so much. I wouldn't mind doing another one. And so next year's it's going to be great. I think we've got Alice Cooper on there too.
Yeah, that it sounds like a great bill. You guys, Alice Cooper, the Zombies, Robin Trower, Foghat.
I'm getting on that boat.
So your last studio album, Crash of the Crown, came out in 2021. It's getting a little long in the tooth. It's almost graduating college. Are you guys talking about a follow-up at this point?
Oh, it's still living at home. We still have that bedroom to occupy. Here's the thing. We have enough material. Well, I'd say we're still 2 songs under. Okay, the other guys might disagree, but we've got the material. We just need the time now. And toward the end of this year, I have a feeling that November, December, because I see we lighten up the schedule there. I have a feeling that there's going to be at least the spade will go into the ground to kind of break ground and start the recording process for something new. That's everything crossed on me right now, including my legs and toes.
Are you going to stick with the space theme that you've had between Crash of the Crown and the Mission was the space theme. Crash of the Crown, kind of in that same realm. Are you going to continue on like that?
Well, okay, Crash of the Crown, I wouldn't say it would have anything too spacey about it. It was more the Mission, to my mind, was the premise was a space theme, but it was really about the relationship between the crew on that mission, right? Which was very similar to a band. Crash of the Crown, to my mind, is an album that portends a sense of renewal after a cataclysmic event. I think that's why that album really connected with people. Somehow we lyrically fell into this thematic thing about renewal, but after something bad has happened, a cataclysmic event, which we'd never specify exactly what that was. So I think that connected in that way. I think there are new themes that are emerging here, which I won't say right now in case we veer off in another direction. But each album really has its own, similar to the band itself, it has its own spirit. It has to carry its own kind of flavor throughout, and this is shaping up. I think it'll shape up that way, just given the songs that I've heard so far. How's that for a vague answer?
It seems very rock and roll to me.
All right.
Now, we talked about your brother getting the gig in Styx. How did you originally get the gig in Styx in '99?
Oh, okay. We're going back into the history books here. In 1997, so I go 2 years before I joined the band, I had an album out, a live album that was particularly aimed at the people of Quebec, and that's the French part of Canada, because it had a couple of French songs on there, and it was just live recordings I'd done around that province, because I would play 20 to 30 shows around that entire province as a separate music industry or music music genre almost that exists in Quebec that is unique from the rest of North America. So I'd done this live record, and a great promoter named Donald K. Donald had heard the record got into the top 10 in Quebec, and I had a show coming up that he was promoting about maybe 3 weeks away from where Styx were coming to Montreal to play. And Donald called. I'd been on TV that morning in Montreal, and he said, I want to change venues. I want you to play opening for Styx at the new Montreal Forum. The brand new Montreal Forum just been built where the Montreal Canadian hockey team play. And it was only about 3 months old. And I had a moment of reluctance. It was funny because I said, Donald, I haven't opened for anyone in Canada 14 years. The last time I opened for someone was Supertramp. And he said, no, look, you headlined the old Montreal Forum. This is a chance to put this on your resume. Just do it. And I said, I also had no band this year. I'm touring totally solo. This is just a piano vocal show because that's what the album is. He said, just do it. And I said, I'll do it. And as it turned out, Charlie Brusco, our manager, came up and saw that show because he hadn't heard of me, and he thought that Donald might have lost his mind having a solo piano player open a show in front of 17,000 people. But the audience, they knew my songs. They were singing all the choruses, etc. And I noticed toward the end of my set, all the guys in Styx were side stage and watching the show. And in fact, as I came off the stage, Tommy Shaw shook my hand and said, that worked out so well. We should do more of this in future. That's 1997. Todd even came up to me after their show, which first time I ever saw Styx was that night. And he had a copy of my CD, and he said, oh, he said, oh, excuse me, I don't speak French. And I said, well, actually, neither do I. I just speak a little bit on stage to the French audience, and I've gotten better. But anyway, so I actually signed my own album to Todd, which was very funny. A year later, after that experience, a year later, I was in England playing a solo concert. No, not solo. I started playing with the BBC National Orchestra for the opening of Princess Diana's memorial, an original piece I had called Healing Waters that her family wanted played at her home when they had her memorial there. And on the bill was Duran Duran and Sir Cliff Richard and some other huge British acts. Todd Sucherman was at that show playing with a different act, not Styx. And he came up to me there and said, do you remember me? I'm Todd from Styx. And he did that show with us in Montreal. I said, I do remember. Well, so we kind of hit it off that day and a lot of similar sense of humor, etc. 6 months goes by, and I get a phone call from JY and Tommy Shaw saying, hey, and I'm assuming it's to open more shows for them. And they said, we were thinking about, and I said, yeah, I'd love to, especially if it's in the US, I'd love to open shows for you. And they said, no, that's not what we're thinking about. What we're thinking about is, would you be into joining the band? And I said, this is a very flattering offer. I thank you, thanks for calling me, and I'll call you back in 1 hour. And I went and grabbed my copy of that album you have on the wall there, Grand Illusion, listened to it to see, could I hit these notes? Because I don't know what my vocal range is next to what's on the record. And I realized, yeah, I can hit those notes. So Tommy called back an hour later and said, so JY says you're thinking it over. And I said, yep. And if you guys want to try it, let's see how it goes. And so 2 days later, I was at Tommy's house and we sang together, and they thought that everything sounded strong, and they said, let's do it. 25 years ago.
And here we are 25 years later. Styx still going strong. You're still going strong. Lawrence, those are all the questions I have for you today. Styx is currently out on the Renegades and Jukebox Heroes tour. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I saw you the last time you came through. Always a fantastic show with you guys, and always good conversation with you.
Yeah, you too, George. Well, great. I think I can honestly say you're not going to be disappointed. You'll have a great night, honestly.
I know I will. And I wish you the best of luck in the future, and we'll talk again.
Cool. Wear that t-shirt.
Yeah, I will. I'll be in the photo pit. I'll wear this shirt.
I will point right at you, like right at your lens, like this. It'll be really disturbing.
We'll do it for sure.